Hi, Sierra Katow here, and if you're hearing this, that means that you stuck around till episode 3 of Stay Positive, so thank you so much. And also thank you to those people who have already left reviews on iTunes, most of which I know who you are because we're best friends. But also, please do, if you haven't, 5-star rating would be amazing, and a little positive comment would always help. But hey, I'm not begging. I am. But I'm very excited. I'm actually releasing this episode. Episode 3 is the first episode I recorded, just releasing out of order. And what's so exciting about it is it's with PK, who is one of my favorite stand-up comedian friends. He has been a mentor through my comedy journey. And I'm sure you might be familiar with his stand-up. You've seen him on The Laugh Factory. You've seen him on Hulu, where he has an hour special out now. Please watch if you haven't already. He's just a really great person, and I think when I thought about starting this podcast, I was like, who am I going to have on? Oh, PK, duh, because he's somebody who always is just funneling like positive quotes into emails and always being there to bring that energy, no matter if I'm talking to him on the phone or in person or whatever. So, and he's a father, so it's like cool to get that perspective as well. So it's going to be a really fun conversation. I'm so excited for you to listen to it. It was recorded, I think, back in September, so if references are outdated, that's why. But thank you again and enjoy. Hi, PK.
What's up,
Hey, I'm
Sierra?
so excited.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming over. I know your life is crazy.
My life is crazy right now.
So we're gonna get into that. But I'm just happy that you're here, and you're like one of my oldest buddies in comedy. Not age-wise.
No, I'm old as fuck.
Right?
Don't worry. Old.
But I've known you for a while, and like you're one of the people that was like a mentor from. I think we met when I was probably
I'm trying to remember the first time.
A year or 2 in. Like I was probably like 18 or 19.
What was the first time?
At the Laugh Factory, I remember Aiko introduced us, and you were probably hosting Friday night, and I was just watching.
You were just hanging out, right?
I was just hanging out, and she's like, "Oh, meet PK," and I like knew of you, but I was excited to like actually meet you. And then we've been pals ever since, and you've been like one of those people who. Like, I feel comfortable asking for advice and all those things, which is rare because I'm kind of shy when it comes to comedians, I feel kind of weird. Or
Why?
It's just intimidating. I think starting out young, everybody's so much older.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm not one to just be like, hey, I'm entitled. Tell me everything I should know. But I mean, you're always so friendly and like offering up advice. So I got more comfortable as a result.
Yeah,
so,
well, you're super nice and also brilliant. They're very smart. And then when I found out the Harvard thing, it really took it to another level. I was like, because I grew up in the whole Tiger Mom culture in this Korean church where people who go to Ivy Leagues are put at the top, right? Like they're superstars.
It's a good label.
You're a super. And then so for you to choose doing entertainment, comedy, be creative.
What went wrong?
It's bold and it's respectable.
Well, and you're a part of that. I feel like I'm always hearing great things from you, which is why I wanted to have you on this podcast, because I feel like you're one of the people who just comes out with the inspiration like every day. Every time I talk to you, I feel like. I guess I want to talk about that a little bit. But tell me about the Tiger Mom culture you're just talking about. Like, was that when you were growing up? And I know your dad was a preacher.
Yeah.
Or a priest. I don't know what
my dad was a pastor of a huge conservative Presbyterian Korean church, which is a hub of competition between parents who have good intentions.
In the church itself, yeah.
The church itself.
Because the community, I see.
But yeah, like coming from a culture that, 100 years ago, South Korea was poverty, and then now coming here and a lot of people are financially successful, and then it has that whole competitive aspect of not only financially home, but your kids, what college do they go to, how, you know what I'm saying? And it's very subtle, passive aggressive conversations about, where did she get into, where did he get into? It's a bragging thing. And then I just moved from Glendale to La Crescenta.
Right, yeah. So how's La Crescenta?
And you're from La Cañada.
Very close by. I grew up there. Yeah.
Above the two is a whole different planet. It's a great neighborhood.
Beautiful.
The best school districts.
Really great for
safe,
kids.
Beautiful neighborhood on top of a hill.
Uh-huh.
But no neighborhood is perfect. So like now that my kids are there, I feel, wow, this is Tiger Mom Central. Like this is.
What about the dads? Do you have
the dads? A lot of them, I feel, are it's like a lot of them are very traditional style, like more like provide, and then a lot of moms run the show.
Right. Okay.
There are some dads that are like me that where my wife makes more than me right now. She's an attorney. She works in downtown, so I
Nice.
do all the drop off and pickups, and so
Yeah.
I'm around all these moms.
Sure.
And
Yeah. You're honorary mom.
honorary mom, and
That's awesome.
it's not like they're after school. There's all these white van. Like normally white vans would be creepy at a school.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
No, but these are
Those are welcome vans.
welcome recruiting vans.
Yeah,
For after-school
got it.
programs.
Like prep, tutoring, SAT.
There's a Chinese language program. There's all these Korean language programs. There's
wow,
there's math, English, piano, violin. I'm talking about like they're just recruiting. And if they
That's
get the
amazing.
oldest sibling, most likely they're gonna get.
Sure.
So
They
it's
prey on the they prey on the ones that are holding the hands of younger kids.
exactly. You're gonna get the whole family. So this is big business.
Yeah, that's
And it's very serious.
wow.
Yeah, so I'm in that world right now.
And it's
and-
remind you a little bit of how the church was.
It reminds me of the church, but not only that, just I was thinking about it, as a Laugh Factory with Johnny at Long Beach yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was like, because Johnny's I'm like, I don't know. I can't. It's hard for me to relate with other stand-up comedians right now because I don't know any other stand-up comedians that drive a mini. I drove a minivan here, like to your place. Like I don't know other than
Right.
Jim Gaffigan, who's a multimillionaire.
Sure, yeah, different story. It's a different kind of minivan.
Totally. I'm
Private jet kind of
struggling
minivan. Uh-huh.
month to month minivan, Dad.
Got it.
Still trying to do stand-up comedy. So that's
Yeah, and that's amazing though. And
Thank
I
you, but-
respect so much the parents in stand-up comedy because I find it hard to go out at night, go to work at night, quote unquote, by going to mics or going to shows. And I don't even have kids to put to bed,
it's hard.
or, wake up early to drop off kids at school.
Yeah, it's hard.
But let's talk about your kids then. So what are their ages now?
9-year-old boy Solomon, 6-year-old girl Sophie, who has to wear glasses till she's college, and she's adorable.
Oh,
and,
wait, why till college?
because like she has
specifically that
like
age.
a condition where
Got
it'll
it.
help fix her over time.
Yeah, okay.
So she just always has to wear it.
Uh-huh.
And then a 3-year-old Silas, who I love to death, but it was not planned.
Sure,
So
yeah.
planned by God or the universe, whatever you believe.
9, 6, and 3.
9, 6,
though.
and
I mean, it's
3.
good spacing. At
Good
least.
spacing,
It's not
boy, girl,
like someone
boy.
super young. Not that that's bad, but like as far as accidents go, pretty good, well spaced accident.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
adorable. Yeah, and so
Wait, did you
and
say you have
9 is
siblings?
pretty. Yeah, I have an older sister.
What
She's
age?
5.5 years older than me, so
Okay.
she's 29. But yeah, I mean, and we were pretty far apart, like age wise, but we're really close, and it's just the two of us, so I think that helped. But
So right now you're close too.
yeah, I would say, growing up because she was so much older, maybe it's like, your oldest and your youngest, it's like kind of more of a parental
Yeah.
relationship. So like I like looked up to her and I believed everything she said. She would like say complete lies and things like, oh yeah, this is candy and it lasts forever, or like whatever. Like she would make up things, or that her little animals would talk to her, but I wouldn't hear what they had to say. And I would just be like, yes, I mean, I guess that is the law.
That's funny.
So, and then slowly, like now we're becoming more adults and more siblings. But even now, still, like I do this sort of unconventional, whatever comedy path this is, and then she's a lawyer. She's married. She has a house.
Is she in LA?
She's in Long Beach right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but she might be moving to.
I'm sure she's
Orange
on the
County
nice side of
soon.
Long Beach, not the Snoop. There's the Snoop Dogg side of Long
That
Beach.
is
Have you ever
true.
been there?
I
Like, if you ever
have,
make a wrong turn, you're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
I've done some
There's
shows
the
out
Belmont
there.
Shore, Long Beach. Like, if
Right,
people
right.
don't know LA, like the nice area where the Laugh Factory down at Belmont Shore, and then
yeah.
there's the inner city. Long Beach is huge.
Long Beach is huge.
If
It's a
Long
whole
Beach
nother
was in the
city.
Midwest, it would be like a capital of a state.
Oh,
Like,
I
it's
see.
freaking
Yeah,
huge.
it's so crazy how much like metropolitan stuff is in LA,
Yeah.
even though it's technically like all of Southern California.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So Long Beach is so.
Not
So
bad
she's
at
in
all.
that
But
area.
Yeah, she's there now. But yeah, I mean, I think it's like our distance, age wise, was it was fine.
Has she come watch you?
Yeah, lots.
Oh, she has?
Yeah, probably too much.
Does she give you pointers?
I think she just is like, she's super funny and like we have very similar.
Is she really?
sense of
No
humor.
disrespect. My older brother's a lawyer.
Uh-huh.
He used to be fun after he became a lawyer, and then my wife is a lawyer
Uh-huh.
because of the
Oh,
industry they're in.
They can't really be as.
They're
funny.
become corny as
Okay.
fuck. They have to be so square and to the T. Like
Mm-hmm,
they start losing all sense of it. Like they can't. Anytime I'm joking around,
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, they
yeah,
can't.
yeah,
They
yeah.
don't.
Sure,
They have no
because
filter in
I
terms
mean,
of that.
if you're not hanging out with people in
Who are
that
joking
sense,
around all the time.
then it's like your gauge is different. Do you find that like
But she's
did
genuinely
you,
funny.
Yeah, did you when you guys first met, was that a big part of your relationship, or like part of the attraction was like she found you really funny and then you found her really funny, or like
She definitely thought I was very funny.
Good.
And but over time, as she's been a lawyer for 7 years now, definitely I'm like, wow, babe, your sense of humor has become so bad. Like in terms of other lawyers, they're just 12 hours a day of just contracts.
Sure.
And law, everything's so
Basically,
serious.
like it can be obviously very serious.
So she takes everything so seriously. And my brother too, he's like brilliant, you know. He was like a valedictorian and UCLA law, and the jokes that he sends on email from Korea, I'm like, like what he thinks is funny, you know, like the older brother, like, use this on stage, and you're like, no,
use this.
You
Yeah,
know?
I like that a lot. It's like, oh, I mean, I'll try. I don't know how to say
Like,
this, but I can't.
no,
Yeah,
like,
but
no.
that's not gonna happen.
Exactly.
That's great. Wait, how long have you been?
But I love you.
married
I love
now?
you. I love you, babe. I love you.
Obviously,
Brother.
How long have you been married?
12 years. Just our anniversary pad. We were dating for 4 years before that, so 16 years. When you put that together, you really like. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
Especially
and you met her. So when did you guys meet? How old were you both?
I was 25 and she was 22, 21.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
26.
yeah,
No, I was
that's
26. She was
awesome.
22. We're at a club.
Oh.
I was just partying my ass off.
Nice.
Used a line.
Was this the? Oh yeah, it was.
Korean nightclub. I said, "Are you looking for me?" She put her hand on my face and said, "Are you serious?" And then it worked. We started dating.
What is? Are you looking for?
She was
me?
looking. She was
Oh,
looking for her friends, and I
you were
put
like,
my
"Are you
face
looking for
right
me?"
in front of her. I was drunk.
Oh
I was
my
like, "Looking for me?" And then she
God,
went, "Are you serious?"
And then you got married.
And then I go, "Come on, just
now
give
you
me,
have 3
just give me your
kids.
number." And I said, "My friends are." This is a good line for any guys.
Oh, yeah.
I go, "My friends are behind. They're looking. They're looking at me." I'm like, "You can just save my price. Just give me any number. It could be a real number, or a fake number, right?" So she gave me a number. You know, she could have given me a wrong number.
She could have.
But when I called her, you know, you gotta wait a few days. Most girls,
Got it.
you know, they play it off or whatever. But she was like, "Finally," and I was like,
"That's good." Yeah. So she was thinking. So you know she's thinking about it. That's good. I
She
think you gotta,
just no
if you like
games on
the
that.
person- Yeah.
And then I felt like I was in.
Cool.
And then it was just off to the races.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just started dating, and it was a relationship.
And then we had a lot of sex, and then as soon as we got married and kids, we have no sex.
Got it. Yeah, I hear that's the graph.
Don't get married.
I hear that is the graph of
Guys, that's the
sex
graph.
and relationships.
It goes down
All right.
with each
but
child.
Yeah. Okay.
And it just goes
Okay,
down.
but you know, and then there's dips and valleys and mountains, like in the economy.
Exactly. Just like the economy.
The economy of sex. Yeah, so that's amazing.
By the way, if my family's listening to this, we did not have premarital sex. It was all a joke.
Yes,
Yeah.
there we go.
To my
Just
Christian
a
family.
disclaimer. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's great. And like, how do you feel like you've been able to make it work for so long? You know.
That's a good question. I remember I was in the back of Flappers at the green room, and Aisha Tyler, am I saying it right?
Aisha Tyler.
Really pretty black comedian.
like
She was
on
used
the
to be on the
talk
talk.
track.
Aisha Tyler, right? I was opening for her, and I was like, "Wow, I'm a fan, everything." And then she's been married for a long time. She wasn't able to have a baby. She's very open about that. They were married for like 15 years, around there.
Sure.
And I said, "What's your secret?" And she's like, "Just don't be an asshole to each other." Like a lot of people, as you get married, you get used to the person. You take each other for granted, and the way you talk to each other is so much more important than what you say. That's so true.
Right.
Then like, you know, in the beginning you're so considerate, and then years go by and you're like, what
Right.
like that.
Being short, it just could
Yeah.
layer on top. kind of.
Totally.
Okay.
And she's like, just don't be an asshole. Like in the beginning relationship, you weren't an asshole, but as time goes on, but then it was really encouraging. And then like years later, a few years after that, I read online that she got divorced from her husband. So I
Okay,
was
yeah,
like,
no, I know.
I guess someone was being an asshole. Well, it really discouraged me because
Sure,
in
you're
person,
like, oh, that sounds like you figured it out.
it's so true, and it was
Yeah.
like such a practical rule. I'm like,
Right.
yeah,
I mean,
and
that
then,
seems like a
but then
simple
when the
rule.
person themselves, it doesn't work out. You're like,
You're like, oh, love is a lie. Then, yeah, no, it's always tough finding out. I think when people that you know and you're like, well, they look like they figured it out. So at least there's that.
no one has it
But
figured
then
it
it's
out.
like, yeah, you just can't. I guess we
No
just
one
can't
has it
create
figured out.
any idols in our head. No
Totally.
heroes.
Totally.
Never meet your heroes. Never look them up on the internet.
Have you ever been disappointed about one of your heroes?
Yeah. I mean, I've met. I guess I probably won't say name.
I'll say the names after you. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna say this person's name, but I did meet someone who is a comedian who's not that big, but I would say I definitely have comedians that I look up to that are maybe not haven't super made it yet, but just because we're nerds of the business, right? It's just like, oh, I kind of really looked up to this one person, and then when I met him, he kind of said some like things about being like a young woman in comedy being like easy, or being like, well, I mean, you're here because this. And it was kind of like, well, now I got to take that into account.
Just like condescending.
And I would have, like a little condescending. I think later on he apologized, which is nice. Or he
good.
at least said that I did well, and like, then that kind of counteracted what he said earlier, maybe. But I think it was hard hearing that from, someone you look up to, because that is definitely an opinion I know people have. But I don't care if it's from someone I don't care about, right? So that was tough. And I think it's like probably not that big a deal, but that was maybe the one that I hinged on the most. But yeah, how about you?
So at Laugh Factory upstairs, I remember, we know Tony Rock, right? He's always been really cool.
Yeah.
And then one time he says something like, my brother's here upstairs, and Tony knows that I'm like idol worship Chris Rock. Like I know Bring the Pain. I watched it on VHS 20 times. I could do it word for word. I know all his. So I ran up there, wide-eyed. And I know he probably has, think about like so many people just go up to him.
Sure, yeah, like You Saved My Life, or like,
Just like
one of the
biggest
rock stars.
do not want strangers just coming up to you all the time.
Got it.
But I was like wide-eyed.
Well, yeah, and if you know like Tony, it's like, oh, I'm not just anyone.
So much energy. Like, Chris, you're like one of my like just gushing, fanboying hard. And he could have just been in a weird mood or whatever, but he was like, okay, like, can I, like, I shook his hand, but kind of gave me this like, okay, like, who's this energetic Asian? Right. And then I tried to talk, a little small talk, but his other brother was there. I think it's probably Jordan or his other, they have a lot. They have a lot of brothers, and then Tony came up, and then I just, it was like really awkward. I felt so stupid walking away.
Oh, I mean,
and walk right downstairs.
That's such a hard situation.
And then I was like, wow, that's not how I imagined meeting Chris Rock.
Sure, yeah. I feel like, that's a pretty, like, especially with the big rock star type celebrities, like, that's probably very common that people have this interaction. Also, because we build them up so much in our head.
So big, yeah.
And then when you go and meet someone, like, I don't know, do you have that with, what about, like, with parents? Did you have a moment where you had that sort of, like, realization of, like, oh, maybe...
I do know that all parents lie on social media. All parents lie. It's all a fucking lie. Like, it's like, the whole social media thing is a competition. I mean, people use it for different things, right? It's like promotion, fine, right? The booty models, whatever you want to do. I don't know who's taking these pictures of you on the beach, but there's that. Yeah. But then there's
hashtag bootying.
Yeah, and hashtag booty. But then there's it's all good too, like family, whatever, right? And because I like it because when we take pictures of social media, our family's all over the world, all over the country, all over the world, and we all keep in touch. But there's also this whole pressure of like, it's always happy, it's always fun.
Well, yeah, social media in general.
But it's 80% not like that. You're just capturing the 20%. So when you're talking about, like the reality versus, when you actually meet the parents and the family and everything, it's just like, man, it's a whole different world.
Totally.
So a lot of parents that are posting all their stuff, I really feel some of it's just parents trying to convince other couples to have kids. It's so great.
Oh yeah. The
join us, join our club.
I remember some video that went viral of a mom like kind of having a breakdown because it's tough to have kids.
So tough.
And that went viral because like nobody posts that kind of reality, but like every parent knows that those moments happen. Yeah. So it was sort of like, oh wow, suddenly someone's finally being honest about it.
Which reminds me, I want to do a second Instagram of just that, like.
The like
real
down
parenting.
Instagram. Yeah, that would be great. Well, that's what I was going to ask you is about like your social media like take and what you're doing with your specific Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Like, because I feel like you always have really great captions. I like follow you obviously, and so like whenever you post something, it's like
Thank
a lot
you.
of really great
By the way, you
stuff
blew
about
up. Congrats. I go, all my comedian friends, I'm like, damn it. That's what I'm saying is that what we were talking about right before is I
Right,
feel
right.
like I'm in the first lane and then the slow lane. And then, you know, our friend Dumbfound, a famous Asian
Oh,
rapper. I
gosh,
think he's the
yeah.
best Asian rapper in the
What
world.
a-
But he's like,
incredible.
damn it, all my friends are getting way
'Cause
more famous
he's
than me.
friends with Aquafina.
He's friends with all the crazy rich Asians
Yeah,
people and
I mean,
everybody. And then,
those
so
guys
it's
are on a
like,
whole, like nuclear level. Yeah.
even the
it's
famous
amazing.
people always feel
Right, so no
someone
matter
else is
what,
going
I mean,
more faster.
that's
yeah.
the crazy thing when you find out about somebody who like you look up to. I mean, speaking of heroes again, but also that they still feel like a little bit less than
Totally.
fulfillment. Like
Totally.
it can feel kind of scary because on the one hand, it's like, well, that's cool and it's validating to me for feeling that way because everyone feels that way and it's universal. They're human as well.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, it's like, are we always gonna feel this way?
Always. No, even like I remember
Uh-huh.
Dane Cook at his height, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
there's always like a little competition I could feel when you always have to stay on top. There's always, you know, it's a competition.
Sure.
It's good and
it's
bad,
not,
but
yeah, once you get there doesn't mean you're gonna stay.
someone else wants that spot. Yeah. But as a joke though, I
Uh-huh.
do want to Photoshop myself on the front cover of like some like not like time but some generally big magazine,
Yeah,
and when I go to Dumbfounded's place, I want to like casually leave it on his coffee
And then he's
table.
gonna be like, not
Just-
PK2.
It's gonna be like, yo, what the when'd you, and I'm like, I don't know, they call me.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You didn't get that call?
It was something like biggest
Oh,
Asians of
dear.
2019 or something. They called me. They said, what?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh yeah, they must have left you off the list. Anyway, but yeah, with social media, with the fact that like, you know, or I see you post things or you're
I'm just trying to
calling
keep it
out certain
real.
people, like, well, in a good way. Like, I saw you post about Crazy Rich Asians, and you're like, these people. I don't know. I like your captions. Your attitude's always very like, we're all doing this. We're all in this together. And I think that's a super hard place to get to because, especially within, and I think we're getting there now. But you have always been there. Like, we're in this moment where it's like, okay, now Asians, we're all in solidarity, working together to get our next big thing, right? And
Yeah.
like, if we all boats rise with the tide or whatever anyway.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, I guess, like, were you always like that, or how did you find your way to like realizing, hey, it's not a competition, this is like
Well, I mean, in you know, growing up in Burbank, a lot of times I was one of the only Asian kids, and then going to college, I had white, black, Latino friends, which is good. We always talked about race thing.
cool.
But in high school, I went to kindergarten through 12th. My parents put me in this village Christian. It was like all white, and so I always felt like the outcast. So I felt very, you know, aware. And then right after college, I started this Asian talent show called Collaboration with my good friend Roy, who helped me finance it. And before I was using my credit card and borrowing money.
Oh Jesus.
And that we put a lot of hard work into it, and we established it. Long story short, it was a lot of hard work into 14 cities annually, and it's still running.
Yeah, I just
So-
was at like their show.
Yeah.
So my friends were performing. That's amazing.
It went from like a few hundred to 1,000 to 2,000. At its peak, our 9th year, we had 6,000 people come to the Shrine Auditorium. That was right when Asian YouTube stars were crushing
nice.
it.
Yeah.
So my heart has always been to support Asian American artists because we don't, then who's going to? And there's so much hatred within, jealousy. It's natural, right?
Sure.
And so I always want to support and help. But even still, I texted one of my close friends, you know, I'm like, man, I'm so happy for this Crazy Rich Asian thing. It's amazing, but I'm so jealous. Like my natural human nature. And he replies back, he goes, why are you jealous? He's like, they're just rich and famous and they're just going to be having sex with beautiful people. Like, what? He goes,
like, that's it.
what are you jealous about? And I'm literally, when I saw his text, I was washing dishes at home and we had boxes everywhere. And I was like,
You're like, oh, right. Nothing to be jealous about.
and I see like every post of Jimmy, oh yeah, hot girls.
Oh my God.
Hey, we just
Jimmy,
got free
yeah.
watches.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I
You
saw
see
that
one?
post. Yeah, the
I'm like, I
watches.
look at
Like,
this
all right,
hub lot.
simmer
I'm
down,
like,
everyone.
damn it. Every post is crazy. I'm like, damn.
It is interesting because.
By the way, he's doing our show that we're doing it.
Oh,
Yeah, it should be
okay,
fun.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then maybe my mom will come.
Oh,
She's
cool.
a big fan.
I don't know when this is coming out, but we're doing Laugh
Oh,
Factory
yeah,
the first
that's
Friday of
hilarious.
September. Sierra
Awesome.
and I and Jimmy O Yang and
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like September 7th.
7th Friday night, 7:45.
Laugh
If this
Factory
just
in
comes out.
Hollywood.
before
Yeah,
then.
you know what? Let's make it. I'm gonna make it come out before then. We'll see.
Cool.
Well, who knows? It may. Okay, whatever. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I think what I found interesting about Crazy Rich Asians, like, because they got so many great people in it, and then I almost forget, like, oh yeah, I wonder what it would be like to, because there are so many other Asians actors out there, and like,
Oh, you
not
know,
that they,
you
not
know,
that
you
they
know
like are.
that they're happy for this, but
Yeah,
they're burning
I know,
inside.
because it's like it's such a huge opportunity
They're-
that like they would be just as good for, and like everybody's great, but like
They're
yeah,
burning
it's
inside.
an interesting
Like,
thing that
I know so many Asian actors have been paying their dues that are probably like,
I mean, specifically too, I'm sure it was tough because I heard like they were pretty much trying to go out to just Chinese actors, and like there's obviously like a lot of Korean actors. I feel like that.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, and there's a lot of everyone, but
that makes sense to go after Chinese actors.
because it's
Yeah, of course.
that's the story.
But I'm just saying, if
I
you're
know
an
that was
Asian
another
actor that
thing
has
that
been
I
paying your
heard.
due, and I know people that have left, they become like realtors, and
Sure.
they've just too much. They couldn't make it money wise. They're happy, but they're just watching the movie like happy, but at the same time like, damn, man.
Right.
That's just
It's
natural
hard.
human
It's hard.
tendency to be jealous.
Have you,
Yeah.
like, how do you stay and keep your head in the game when things aren't going, like, when you don't see the end of the tunnel, if that makes sense?
So I meant, to answer your question earlier, and just like how do my wife and I keep
Yeah.
our focus, and we've been together for so long, for 12 years, which I guess it's not that long, but in LA it's an eternity, right? Because
Sure.
like
yeah.
5 years is an eternity in LA.
Yeah.
It's definitely our focus is our kids. I don't know if that's the most healthy way, but just keeping it real, my wife and I, one thing, even though we have arguments, we really bond on is we both want the best for our kids, and we love our kids.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we encourage each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's helped us a lot. And then just really being wise with our finances and being real. And that has there's been some very real awkward, painful moments of me apologizing.
Okay.
Usually in almost every marriage, the woman's credit score is higher than the man for some reason, because the guy's out there party doing stupid shit,
Got
right?
it,
Like,
got it,
like
yeah.
I have to bond with my guy friends. babe.
By
Like,
dropping
I
some
have to.
bottles.
Yeah, like
we need bottles.
exactly. Come on, when's the last time I hung out with my guy friend? So like things like that,
Got
but
it,
then
got it.
just
At least
basically,
being like open about it, so it doesn't come up later. Kind
yeah,
of thing?
and you
Okay.
basically have to surrender. The white flag basically comes to a point where like, okay, goodbye my old life, and I just have to become this homebody. So for me, I'm at a place where I just have to be grateful. This is my lot. This is where I am. It's all about my family and providing for them. I have a day job. I DJ weddings on the weekend. I do stand up at night when I can, take care of my kids, and I have to be super disciplined. Every extra moment that I have to be writing. And if I don't, if I don't, I have no excuse. And that reality has just been hitting me every day of like, man, I got to be waking up early before everything and just write. Wow. Or I realize I don't have any time, because I've been trying to do the whole work later, but no, there's like, you got to give them a bath, you know, with the homework, you got to brush your teeth. So it's just hit me like, I got to be waking up like 6 or 5:30, like just to write before the day starts. And then that forces you to go to sleep earlier. And then basically have no life other than work, serve the family, do my civic duty, and chores, and then live for that creative time that can hopefully get me the Shawshank Redemption out of. Have you seen that movie?
I have. Yeah, that is a good way to put it.
It's the best analogy, metaphor of life.
Maybe.
It is, because it's like everybody who's in an office job feels that way, like. And you have to have that exit plan behind the poster, that your boss doesn't know about.
Spoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It is. That's why that's my favorite movie ever. Yeah.
That's a good. I never even thought about it as just like life in general, but that is true. That like sometimes people are kind of chipping away at stuff and nobody even knows it. Like I do a lot of freelance coding for money, and slowly I think some of my bosses on
Do
this
you know how
front
smart you are to even
figured
do that? I do freelance coding
well,
on the side.
You know, people can learn how to
man.
code. It's nothing too complicated, but I would say my bosses are like, sometimes they slowly catch on to like, oh, I saw you do stand up too, and I'm like, yeah, you know, just a little thing.
Because they
but
find
you don't
you,
want to
right?
like, yeah, because my name is like nobody has the name, which is cool, but it does mean that like I guess the more I try to apply to certain of these extra freelance things, I think people are like, yeah, I don't think you're taking this seriously because like,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
that's a big
But
thing.
that's why I try to go for like remote jobs and stuff like that.
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm a recruiter for a top mortgage company in the nation. It does very well.
Yeah, so what did they know?
And then they all started adding me on Facebook. I'm like, shit. So now they know because they see my links and stuff like that. And I can feel that they're maybe think that I might not be taking my day job.
Interesting.
And it's like, now you can't hide it now. It's like everything's going to be intertwined. And then on a conference call, one of our VPs brought it up. I saw your comedy. It was pretty funny. But I was like, oh my God. Now our whole, like, all my supervisors, everybody, now they're all looking. And then,
like, I want to watch your shows.
and then, but then overall too, it's like we have quotas and numbers. And it's stressful. And it's like, if I don't make it, then I know automatically they're thinking,
it's because of that, rather
not
than
taking
if
it
you
seriously.
didn't have it. Okay, yeah, that's always a little scary. But I mean, yeah, it's like part of the trick. You know, tricks of the trade is like figuring out how to balance it and like, I mean, you've been doing that, so I feel like it's at least nothing. It's only new to them. It's not new to you.
So because of that, I realized I just have to be, you know, the athlete that, or there's a lot of student athletes. There's people involved in different things, but they do better.
Okay.
And people go one because they have to be way more disciplined with their time. But then they're also like have less social time.
Sure.
That's just where I am, and I realize I have to be. So I started this mastermind group. I learned from this UCLA conference. Let me know, by the way. And it's one thing in the book that I'm like, wow, I've never done that. And it's just like a group of people that like-minded people. You know, they say that quote, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Oh, right.
So it's these dads in the neighborhood in Glendale, La Crescenta, and we get together. We try to do it monthly, but once every 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, especially women can do it very easy. Like, hey, let's talk. But guys, to have a structured talk, it's corny as hell, right? Like, hey guys, let's get together every month and we'll talk.
Is that more
about stuff?
Yeah.
Like, and it's structured, and they'll be like,
vulnerable.
I'll be like, what the hell are you talking about?
But you found people. How did you?
So I presented it, and
Okay.
and then I go, hey, I know this is gonna be awkward, guys. Even in the description of the one,
You're upfront
it
about
says
it.
like, hey, the first meeting is gonna be awkward.
Sweet. That's awesome.
And then it says like, hey, it's just going to be a structured way. And each time someone presents on a topic that they've been reading or expert, and you're basically, hey, look, I read this whole book. I'm going to give you all the major points in like 20 minutes, so you don't have to read this book, because there's a billion books.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever you're learning, right? Yeah.
Cool.
And then we get together, and then after that, it opens up. We go around, and one of the things we did was, hey, what's your day look like? And so each dad went around.
Oh wow.
And talked about like what their day looked
From
and
waking up.
From just that one mastermind group we had, I connected, and it made me feel so much less alone and on an island and lonely, because when I hang with other comedians, we're just talking about whatever, laughing, whatever.
Bringing up like certain things you want people to hear, but maybe not what's actually like
real
happening.
Yeah. Or they don't understand.
What was the thing that like you felt the most alone about that got cleared up?
Sometimes you're just literally like working, and then all the other dads are like, yeah, I wake up at 6:30, I gotta get out of bed, so they're crying, I gotta brush their teeth, I gotta put their clothes on, I gotta make their breakfast, I gotta make their lunch, and then I gotta fight traffic, drop them off, I gotta run over there, make it in time, then I gotta drive to work, and the boss is on me, and then all day, and then I gotta pay, like, just constant, like, you can't relax. You know, it's just, so that is why I remember there was a bar in Glendale one time I went before I went home, and I looked at it's like 5:30, and I looked at the whole bar. Every guy had a wedding ring on, and they just needed like a beer before they went home, before they hear like before as soon as they step in,
you're like,
we gotta do this, we gotta do this, we
dad
gotta fix the
happy
bike, we gotta
hour.
fix
Sure.
These guys just needed like just 30 minutes. Yeah.
Do you have that cut into your schedule at all, like me time, you know?
No, and then so that this whole mass, I encourage anyone who feels isolated, because as you get older, it's
Sure.
really hard to meet. You can't be like at Rouse and like, hey,
Yeah, like,
what's
hey,
your,
want to be my friend?
you want to hang out?
I even feel like I have trouble now, and I shouldn't, maybe because, like, you know, little bit more time to go, like, frolic in the woods or whatever people do. But I find it very hard, you know. I think
I mean,
it's
comedy
just,
helps.
comedy helps.
Comedy helps. We can
But
talk.
like
And
following up and like being vulnerable and being like, hey, do you want to, you know, because I just realized how connected it is to just also being scared of rejection.
yeah.
If you go out to, you know, it's like asking someone out, I guess, on a date, but it's like a friend date. And like if they're like, yeah, this is weird, like, or if they just like, oh, sorry, I'm busy, like you can start to get in your head about like, oh, are they actually busy, or like, am I weird, or
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm overthinking it, like
No.
everything, but that's great. You
and
found
LA
this
people
group.
are flaky.
Yeah,
And then on
yeah.
top of that,
I'm very flaky.
well, yeah. Oh, no, you're not flaky. I've never seen. But what I was gonna say is on top of that, and I don't know if you consider yourself a millennial.
Yeah, I guess so.
Millennial generation. I know that I've said this on Facebook, and my millennial friends are all mad at me. We're not like
Shut
that.
up.
Yeah. I'm sick of you
Yeah,
guys
don't label
criticizing.
me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it just feels, because of the whole dating app thing, like way more accepted to just ghost people.
That's true,
Which
yeah. Which
that
I feel like
is totally
people were saying people
whack.
ghost interviews and stuff now. I don't know if you noticed with like being a
No, someone did it to
recruiter.
me. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I posted. I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
what-
Maybe that's
what's
what
with
I
this
saw you.
millennial generation?
Maybe I saw your post.
No, and then it
that's what's
started
in my
this
head.
huge argument thing of older people go, yeah, and all the younger people were like, no, we're not.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
yeah, that's a habit that that
So-
I've probably done. I mean, I guess like I haven't done the dating apps because I've been in my relationship since before that got really big, kind of. And so I don't know what that is like, but I can imagine you have no obligation to the other person. You know, you just met them literally not in real life.
Yeah.
So if you schedule a date, it's like, whatever. Or like even if you meet them once, it's like, whatever. This isn't real because we met on an app. I mean, not to discount real relationships that did happen there, but I can imagine it feels a little lower stakes sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I don't know anything. But yeah, I mean, I want to get back into kind of like, you know, how you're able to power through a lot of this like crazy days, like a lot of work, a lot of things on your mind. Obviously, it's always changing, but I wonder like if you have any tips or tricks to like just how to keep your head out of kind of the bad thoughts too, because I can imagine that like if you don't have time to just readjust your mind, then like you can get into ruts.
You know, you see your kids and you just see how pure-hearted they can be, even though they're crazy little monsters. Like how easily they make friends.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
how
That's awesome.
just how they think it's really cute. Like my 3-year-old, we let him watch Black Panther with us. I know it's not age appropriate, but it's a little violent. But he like every black person he saw after, he was like, "Is that the Black Panther?"
Oh, no.
And we're like, "So shh."
You're
But
3.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
And then like we were at Vancouver and then there was one of the worker guys. He came in and he was like, "Black Panther," but just like, and he was like, "Ah."
Oh,
So like
celebrity. Celebrities everywhere. Superheroes everywhere.
just trying to see the
Sure. That's
positivity in
adorable
that,
as, like,
you
the
know?
Innocence.
yeah, and the innocence in that, and just really trying to have a childlike heart,
Yeah.
because that's
amazing.
that's what makes life beautiful. My friend Dwayne Coe, he was Harvard grad as well, and we used to work together. And I remember I asked him like, what's the meaning of life, Dwayne? I mean, you're a smart guy, man.
Ooh, yeah.
He's
What-
a doctor
what'd he
now,
say?
and you're a Harvard grad. I go,
Dr.
what's the meaning of
Coe.
life? And he goes, honestly, he goes, in my opinion, he's like, the meaning of life is when you're like 2 years old to before puberty. He's like, that's the happiest time of your life.
Before puberty.
Yeah, and
that's
he's like,
crucial.
you're just playing, you know, as long as you have friends and you're, supported. Well, he's like, that's the happy. And I'm like, man, you had a rough. Huh? He's like, yeah, I had a rough child. I'm sure he had a very stressful.
Oh yeah.
But that just helps me as
Cool.
a dad. Like, go, you know what? For me, have you seen Life is Beautiful?
I don't think so.
If you, it's about war, and this father convinces his son this is not war. He tells him this is just all a game. He made it look like
Oh, that's what the premise. Oh,
yeah, this
I
is
think
like
I
it's
have
just like
heard of
so
that.
like
Oh, interesting.
not protecting them, but giving them the best perspective of the world of love as possible for as long as possible before they find out how fucked up the world is. But
Keeping that innocence
yeah,
a little bit, which isn't, and I think the word innocence is a little bit negative connotation, like you don't know something, but it can kind of be like you know something beyond. Does that make sense?
yeah. Well, it just helps you see the beauty of life in that because you see all these crazy stories every day.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And it just makes you like overly think everything and become crazy. Like even when we don't have blinds yet, right? We just moved in, so we're blind. So my kids are like running around in their underwear, and I'm like, you don't know, our neighbors are pedophiles. Like it's like they're probably the nicest people in the world, but it's just because you read on Yahoo or whatever.
As a parent, you have to be cautious. And,
yeah, but I guess to answer your question,
use my hands as blinds.
I am. I'm like, put your clothes on. But to answer your question, it's like, for me, it's like right now I'm in a different place. It's all about my kids. Is give them the best, most beautiful, loving life as possible. And then after that, whatever I provide for my family and whatever little slim time I have, this is why don't take it for granted. All these comedians and actors, like if you're single and you don't have these kind of commitments, like don't waste your time. Do not. That's the most precious, priceless commodity you have. It's finite. Don't waste your time, because anytime I have a chance to write a little bit, it's so precious to me. It's like the most important thing. So yeah, it's like I'm literally working just to have that little bit of time to write some new bit, or I'm kind of working on the show that I hope will be the ticket out of the day job.
Sure, yeah, it's scooping away at the wall in the prison.
Exactly.
No. Not that life is a prison, but yeah, no.
Actually, you gave me a good idea. If I want to continue my podcast, I had a podcast, I stopped.
Yeah.
But I want to call it "Scooping It Away at the Wall" or something like that. Scraping behind the poster.
Yeah,
something
and then
like
you
that.
can like have it in. You can make a poster.
I want it to be like the Shawshank Redemption.
After he coming through.
After you crawl through all that shit.
Yeah, football fields worth of shit. Yeah. Ooh, I think about that a lot, actually. I don't know why, but that particular description of like, I'm like, I wonder if I'd be able to do that. You know what I mean? I think we would.
Crawl through shit?
Like, if that was the only way.
Like, literally?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, yeah, right?
If it was once?
Yeah, you just do it once.
Yeah.
But it's like pretty long.
I mean, it's easy to say. It's, the fear factor, like, a live grasshopper. Like, hell yeah, I would do it. And then at that moment, you're like, oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. You're like,
I got to crunch this.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, live.
I don't know.
And then just swallow it without.
Yeah, but to get out of prison?
Gagging. Yeah, hell yeah, I would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably crawl through some shit. Probably eat a little, too, I mean, it's bound to happen.
Andrew Santino said that he had a day job at, like, Wilshire somewhere. And it was one of those, he had to wear a suit. And the day he got, like, some hosting gig on TV. Where it allowed him to leave that job, he said he ran maniacally down Wilshire, ripping his suit off.
Okay,
like, what? Because he he realized that he no longer had to work at a desk job, and he felt so like you feel like your soul's dying, like getting eaten away. No, really.
Sure. I mean, I've been so I gotta say, yeah, I don't really work a classical desk job like that, but sometimes with the freelance things, it's like, oh boy.
If you did sales, you would feel like your soul's dying away.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to call nonstop. Hi, sir. Would you like some information? Like, don't ever call me again. Put me on. I said, put me on a do not call list. Thank you, sir. Next, you gotta write that down. You gotta record. Right. Do not call. Next, and then you do. I mean, I do a more high level. I've started. I remember I've done. Where you're desperate. I've sold this before Lyft and Uber. I've sold printer ink on the phone where people yell at you like, no.
So the goal is just to cold call someone and they needed printer ink?
Yeah. Because companies sometimes go,
is that a good business model?
You can make a lot of money. Like a company goes, you know what? We need some. And then that can lead to orders of a lot.
Then like you're their guy for printer ink.
Yeah, but then when you wake up in the morning, you're like, how did I get here? Where's my place in this world? Like I'm calling
Right.
100 people a day selling printer ink.
Sure. I think, yeah, that fulfillment is important. And like, do you, because I know I'm spoiled in the sense of like, and like our generation, sometimes people are like, oh, you know, millennials or people who went to, you know, 4-year college or things like that. Like, you guys just are looking for fulfillment in your career. And especially for me, when like, yeah, salary wise, like I probably could be making more if I wasn't chasing this dream. I guess, do you find that that's shifted for you since like, you know, you've had a family? It's sort of like there's this element of like having to provide.
Definitely.
So like, does that make maybe some of those jobs more worth it?
Oh, definitely.
Right.
That's why you see all the people that work in these grinding jobs. They have pictures of their family to motivate them
got it, in the cubicle
everywhere.
or
Yeah,
something.
to be like, oh yeah, this is
Do you
why.
have pictures of your kids?
Of
at
course,
work and
yeah.
everywhere? Yeah,
Like this
awesome.
is why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
You know, so that and every night you put them to bed, tuck them in is a successful day. Yeah, every day. At the same time, you feel like everybody's going. If you're in the industry, entertainment, you feel like everybody's going faster than you. You're like, damn it.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't help to see everybody's successes on Facebook and everything.
Yeah.
I
In
do
terms
wanna
of
ask,
the little victories that you and I have,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
I think definitely there's fulfillment of getting that good bit out on stage and knowing, you know, when you know, like, okay, this one is working. That is a natural high, and man, we're so lucky.
Some joke, it's like, oh,
that
I
only
just
stand-up
thought about it,
comedians
and then,
can fully understand.
That's true. Yeah,
You know what I'm
'cause
saying?
that's kind of like in and of its own little reward. That's not monetary. Or
Yeah,
like really
and
anything.
singers can
I
sing
wish it
this.
were monetary. No, I'm just kidding.
Singers can sometimes singers can sing the same song, and if it's big, then people just want them to sing the same song. And so I'm sure that's fulfilling. Like you singing, they're singing it back to you.
Right.
But we have to keep coming up with new stuff, and when you do, and you have to create it and work on it, and then when you finally get it to the point where you feel like, okay, like this is it, that is so fulfilling because it takes so much work.
Yeah.
And it's the first time you do it, it's always gonna suck. Not always, but usually it's gonna be like a little off.
Totally. Yeah.
So,
Yikes.
yeah.
Yeah, like getting over that hump for sure. What about, you talked about like a successful day, but what do you think is your definition of success?
Well, definitely right now, just making sure that my kids are loved, protected, have the best opportunities, and that they know that, you know, we support you, like whatever you want to do. And so that, in terms of that, honoring my parents and my family, doing the best that I can because they sacrificed so much. My parents came to America with like less than $500 and raised 5 of us, and so just honoring them.
Yeah.
And not wasting time. I think, you know, I was such a goody growing up at church, and then so that when I started partying, I was a late bloomer. I like went crazy. You know, they say the pendulum swings too far. I swung that shit like.
So like,
you know, normal
you've
people.
talked about that before, and then I just
Yeah, normal people, like when they party, they drink, they smoke, they go a little bit weed. I went straight to ecstasy. Like my friends took. You know what I'm saying? Like imagine you don't do anything,
So
and then
what?
you did that, and you were like, whoa. Then you think, this is what I've been missing out on all like.
Right, yeah, that's
So
a
I
big
went every
difference,
week
I guess.
for years because I was like, oh
You're
my
like, this
god.
is got to make up for lost time.
Yeah, and my first job out of college was this customer service job, and literally all I was thinking was like, this weekend, this weekend in my mind.
But that's common. Yeah.
Like that's all I was thinking. Like
That's gotta be most like
It's
people
so-
out of college that get it.
no, but I went like so far crazy the other way that I wasted so much time during my 20s just partying, which I justified as networking,
Okay.
partying.
Did you meet people at least through that? and
Yeah, I met
stuff?
some. I guess, you know, I could use it later, but just keeping it real. Like what you're doing is so good. Like going in right after college, and it's about creating the most material. I don't care. Like what you're doing right now with the podcast is creating, writing a show. You wrote for that show. What show?
Right.
Was
Or
it
I was writer's assistant on a couple. I was on Take My Wife and Drop the Mic.
Drop the
Oh,
Mic,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is huge
yeah,
show.
Yeah,
So
that's fun.
if you're not doing that, there's all the other stuff. It's just justifying. I realize I just wasted so much time. Yeah.
I see. I mean, do you feel like that's a thing that I think a lot of young people now too are like, I'm worried about like the time thing, But
I'm saying like you
wonder
could go
if,
to these
like,
like for example, like all these, events,
mm-hmm.
and like yeah, and you do have to network. You have to,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
And I'm going to network, but I'm saying I went too far to the other side where I was going to all these events and I'm very social. I'm an ENFP. I'm a very outgoing, energetic.
Mm-hmm.
So too much of that and not enough just like, hey, but when are you just in your room just writing?
Sure.
And
Like,
I
if
don't
that's
I don't have a disciplined time to that, and that's why my next thing is like, look, you have no excuse unless you're waking up every day and just writing for an hour. And I feel like that's going to be the game changer for me
cool. Yeah.
because I have a special on Hulu that just came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't change shit. I love Hulu, thank you.
Yeah. No, but I mean,
Unless
it's
you're on
there.
Netflix, it doesn't change anything.
Sure. No, but I mean, it's new, maybe because Hulu hasn't really like figured out their stand-up stuff yet. But I think that
I mean, we're low
there.
priority. It doesn't
That's awesome.
not promote as much unless you're Handmaid's Tale. Like Hulu,
Sure,
it's cool.
yeah.
I love Hulu.
But like you
But
have it to show.
It's cool to
You
show,
can
but
go,
that thing
like,
took me
headlines and stuff.
10 years of material
Sure,
for that
yeah.
hour when other comedians are doing an hour in a year or two.
Right. Yeah.
And
I mean,
there's no
turnout is,
excuse where you see,
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's tough. I just like the comparing thing. Have you had? What's your experience with like kind of looking sideways? You know what I mean? Because I think I always, obviously with social media, I'm always like seeing people's milestones because that's what people are posting about. Oh, I got Netflix 15 minutes, or I got just for laughs.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those things are kind of the things like maybe people post about. So sometimes I'm like, in my head about that. But I think I'm worried I spend too much time worrying, when I should just be like, just do the work, right?
Yeah, just focus on your lane.
But yeah, have you had any good ways to put on blinders for those kinds of situations?
Definitely. I meditate. I'm starting to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
I pray a little bit. I used to pray a lot, but I believe in a creator. I don't know where my Christian faith is,
where you're at now.
but I do know that, okay, if people are calling Trump a Christian, then I'm a Christian, all right? I used to think I'm a bad Christian. No, if that guy's a Christian.
Oh, okay. I see.
If that guy gets
your
in.
relationship was more like, I don't know if I'm allowed.
Yeah, I'm like, am I a Christian? I don't know. I don't know where I am. But then I'm like, okay,
Like,
if all these people, if that guy's a Christian, what the hell? I'm a Christian.
He's lowered the bar.
That's the bar?
Yeah, is that even a bar anymore?
Exactly. If he gets in, we're going to be like, you got in?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess staying off of social media, but also too, like, meditating, praying genuinely searches your heart. And you're like, are you really happy for these other people? You know what I'm saying? Are you really happy? Or are you faking that you're happy?
Being like, yeah, my friend got a new, whatever.
Yeah, and it like really checks you, like, to clear out your mind. You pray, and if you believe in God, or if you just don't, you just meditate and like just to stay silent, even if it's for 5 minutes, and like it just helps you go, okay, look, like be grateful. You're alive and you have your health, and that you are genuinely happy, because God, it's so easy to like look at them, look at them, look at them. Yeah, and it's so funny how the bigger the community is, it's so easy for them to be happier for someone who's not as famous.
Got it.
But
right.
But when you're not as big, it's so much harder. Like just like I DJ weddings, and people are so happy for the couple that do their wedding at a restaurant. They don't have money. People party way harder for a couple that doesn't have money. I've seen when a couple has a lot of money and they're just kind of showing off a little bit at their wedding. You know what I'm saying? We do a lot of nice venues.
So yeah, like a banquet hall,
at Laguna Beach. Or Newport, we do a lot of those.
Yeah,
and people are like, dude, we fucking live in LA. You made us drive all the way down here. And it's it's high class, but it can be kind of stiff. People are not as dancing.
People are looking at each other.
Yeah, and kind of like, like they're trying to make their wedding better. Like it's a subtle competition, right? Like weddings with groups of friends.
Yeah, how interesting.
But
I'm going to a friend's wedding. So it's like the first wedding of a friend.
But we did a wedding at at a Chinese restaurant, which was one of the most just off the hook.
Those are great.
And this wedding though there was another wedding going on in the same restaurant, and there was a baby birthday. There were like normal customers in the back. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't even shut the
So
restaurant
yeah,
down.
they were just like, we're gonna take these tables. You guys can do your own thing.
It was crazy. And then
That's
there was
great.
a karaoke room, and there were like hostess girls going in
Oh,
there.
good. Yeah. Good. You know, just everybody's welcome.
Everybody. And people partied so hard because they knew like
That's great. Yeah, like who
the
cares?
couple was
We're here to have
genuinely loved.
fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do like that. I mean, that's like an interesting social experiment, you know, because obviously like family's gonna be family, but then the friends, to see how like the friend groups kind of react or like things like that.
We have a group
I'm
of friends.
excited about that.
Our close group of friends.
Uh-huh.
One of our friends in Orange County, they have a huge, beautiful house, like, and we all went in there. I remember they invited us, and we all were like, "It's all about second place, guys." They won.
The house itself, yeah. I mean,
They
I
won.
guess, I guess
It's
if
only
it's
about
a
second-
competition.
We just put it out there. We're
Right.
like, dude, it's a beautiful and like
Oh, wow.
pool and
Oh.
fireplace outside
Sure,
and
sure.
everything.
Amazing. Yeah, I think like I have to figure out very soon a lot of like coping with that. Like, I mean, whatever. It's like I don't even think that I'm very materialistic or like.
But you have,
But
I'm sure,
I'm
a lot
not
of
there
Harvard
yet.
friends
I
who are
mean,
going to
I
start
have so many
balling,
Harvard friends
right?
who are already balling
Balling.
out. Like I got like a friend who's like made like over $1 million
sure.
from like a bunch of random stuff. Like lots of those, right? And not that I'm like super close friends with a lot of these people, but I mean, even my close friends like eventually will be there. So I think it's like interesting knowing that like, all right, Sierra, like you made this choice, and it's got to be about, you know, sticking to like being fine with it, I guess. And
Yeah.
I guess it helps that I'm not the kind of person who like, if I had been the kind of person who wanted that, I would have, I guess, tried to compete in the sort of like salary Olympics or whatever people do. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really had to face that yet because like we're all still pretty fresh out-ish, so no one's like buying a house yet. But
But
it
definitely,
might happen soon.
your friends from Harvard that you feel are good people.
Yeah.
You should definitely like be genuinely happy and stay in touch with them because they'll feel it and they're gonna help you, like funding,
Oh, ooh.
resources. You know what I'm saying?
I went
They-
to all my friends to
I have some very
Venmo
wealthy
me some
friends,
money.
and they can tell when
Uh-huh.
people are really happy or not. Like,
Sure.
you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Even if it's like a dinner, some people don't pay just because I'm like, we should all still chip in, and that's why my rich friends like me. I'm still like, no, here's 40, even though he's a
uh-huh.
millionaire. It's like,
Can I
'cause-
please buy your Uber?
exactly.
Can I tip him? Like,
Exactly.
tip your Uber?
But they appreciate it because I remember one of my really wealthy friends, multimillionaire, some people just left without paying, and then he was like, did they chip in? And that moment I remember he was
They're on
like,
his list.
kind of like, just, I think because he's so down to earth, he was kind of like, that's okay. Like, I guess that's how they view me, like as like some,
Like now, I'm just,
ATM
like,
now,
the,
like-
the, like big daddy, big bucks. Or whatever.
yeah,
yeah.
like every
Sugar
time I'm gonna
daddy.
trade, like
Yeah,
every
yeah.
time.
Yeah. It's I guess nice to at least have a little like linger time, a little like pump fake.
Pump fake.
You know, pump fake, like in, oh, I'll pay. Oh, okay,
Oh,
okay.
So
Come on, I know the terminology. I do this all the time.
No, but
Uh-huh.
your friends that are successful definitely should.
Keep them in, keep 'em
No.
in good graces.
Well, the ones who are good people, not like who are like
sure, not
just like d-bag,
scamming people.
like or they're just trying to show off that they're rich.
Sure, yeah, no. I mean, I still like all my friends. I'm friends with them for a reason.
'Cause
I
they're
think
gonna-
like, incredible.
They're
so.
gonna root for you. They're gonna want to help you, and not
That's
that many
true.
people have those kinds of resources.
I mean, one of the things is one of my friends. I'm very much banking on the fact that like his business takes off, and he just like has the ability to just hire me as a host or like a whatever TV show. We'll just like buy my show even if it sucks, you know.
That's-
like, dude, we were friends. You gotta buy
Exactly.
this. You don't have to air it. You just gotta pay me for it. Yeah, that would be great. So, Daniel, if you're listening, anyway,
do it. Come on, Daniel, come through.
come on. But yeah, I agree that I think it's like it is such a interesting thing that we now have to deal with, maybe more just because of social media. But it's like, you know, before that existed, how would we know what people were doing on any given Throwback Thursday? You know what I mean?
I
Like,
know.
I really just think it's such a new phenomenon that's like very maybe more influential than like a lot of the other technological developments.
It's amazing.
Just as far as mind stuff goes.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's crazy how involved we are in each other's lives and how liking something is such a common thing now.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah, liking
when
it,
and
getting
and
those
not
numbers
here's the
up.
thing too is like how people are so they're so frugal, or how do you say, like there's about like in terms of like it's not like it's money, it's just a
Oh,
you
I
know what I'm
know.
saying,
It's such a
they
currency though,
it's a
right?
currency,
It
they
is.
withhold.
Like, I don't know if I like that.
Like anytime I put my
that.
kids, I get a ton of likes, right?
Sure, yeah.
But then if I put like, hey, I'm on Hulu, I get like half the likes. So I'm
Really?
like,
How
yo,
funny.
what
Yeah,
the
I
hell?
think it's just people being like,
No, but like, what is it to you?
Yeah, I know, exactly.
What is it different to
It's
you
a-
if you
yeah,
double
it's-
tap it or not?
It's definitely a currency.
The only reason why I don't like a double tap is like if it's some hot girl, I'm not allowed to. So
Yeah, that shit's public.
Exactly. My wife will see like
I
what
see what
the
my boyfriend likes.
exactly.
Some people's, I'm like, well, guess we're gonna have a talk later. No, just kidding. Oh my
One of my
God,
friends took my phone, and my friend Young, and he like we were all drinking, and he liked all these booty models, and so Tammy was like, "What?" And I'm like, "That was Young." She's like, "Sure." I'm like, "You think I would just
Oh my God.
booty model, booty model, booty model, booty model?" It's just all
Booty time.
just
Yeah,
butts everywhere.
It's like your annual.
But why are people so freaking frugal with your likes?
I don't know.
Just like it if it's a cool,
It's true,
positive
because you also
thing.
know like they had to have seen it.
No, it's so weird. Like
Yeah, interesting.
I always thought that was so weird.
Do
it's
you
like
think? Do you get a like? How often do you check social media?
too much.
Okay, me too.
Too much.
I mean, it's like I wonder if.
No, I'm to the
sometimes
point where
people-
like there's that one meme. It's like I went to the bathroom without my phone.
Right. It's like
And if I'm in the bathroom without my, I can't believe I've
it's
come
like-
to that point. That's
sure,
horrible.
I know. I definitely I run my poor battery down, just checking everything.
Yeah.
Do you? Because I noticed that like the weird thing about social media is sometimes I'll like post something and I'll think about it like it's work. You know what I mean? Which is like bad in the sense that I'll be like, did my work for the day? I posted, and that's like terrible.
No, I feel you because I
But
do
it
weddings.
kinda hits the same neuron in my brain. Yeah.
Yeah, I do weddings and I have to keep up, and I'm so behind. And this is the first time I felt like I'm so behind on like posting these weddings, but I have to because I have to do it
Is
in
that part
sequential
of?
order.
Oh.
It helps me promote
Got it.
so
yeah,
that I
yeah.
keep
people know.
I have a continual business,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
good side hustle money, but like so
amazing.
but then I have to do it in sequential order, and there's like I'm behind like a month on wedding. I gotta go back and I gotta look at
Well,
it. It's
that's
like
real. I would
yeah,
definitely
but
count
it no
that as
it,
work
it
with
was never
business.
I felt that like I gotta post.
Sure. Yeah.
I gotta post on IG
I
like
get so I just get stressed about it as well. So I think it kind of releases the same thing as when you like accomplish a task. Because sometimes I'll be like, oh man, I know I have this thing I should have posted about, but I don't want to. And then I do it, and then I'm like, oh, check that box. Like now I can go out, like as if I accomplished something, even though it was literally the dumbest thing ever. But
I guess one thing I feel free is like a lot of people's IG is very high quality, very branded in terms of
ooh, like how the photo,
yeah
like,
everything,
color scheme is,
which is
yeah, that's always
understandable if you have the
impressive.
time. But I'm like, I don't have time for that, man.
Well,
I'll
like
just post
to
whatever.
me, that's so restricting. It's like I already don't even know what to post about. So like if I have to go in and like edit it so that the blues are a little more saturated, like I can't do that. Come on, nobody's got time for that.
Some people do.
Yeah, no, I mean
Yeah.
photography. I mean, I just if you're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a photography account or something, that makes a lot of sense. Or if you're like super, like a supermodel. I don't know, a model, a butt model.
How do you feel about? I was talking with Johnny Sanchez about this yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
A long time ago, female comedians were generally not the most attractive, like just unattractive, like their face,
Okay.
but funny, like Paula Poundstone, Rosie O'Donnell, but all of a sudden there's so many attractive female comedians that are using their sex appeal, which is all good. But how do you feel about that? Because I feel like
What's
some
an
girls hate
example?
on the other girls.
Oh, just
who
like
are
the
just-
sexy ones.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, if
How do
you
I feel about the sexy comedians? who are women?
or are you cool with?
Oh, I think it's
All
it's
good.
cool. I honestly like I don't think I ever noticed a time when that wasn't the case. But maybe I just think everyone's very hot.
Oh, there's definitely a time when it wasn't the case.
No, yeah. I mean, I guess like obviously, well, okay. I guess the way I see it is like, okay, when comedians were, it was, maybe back in like the 70s when it was like very poppin' and it's a boom. It's like very male dominated, still is today, but like even then more so. So like maybe it was harder to break in if you were maybe some I don't know, harder to break in if you're a woman, period. And then like some who came through, like maybe it just happened to be the ones that like people don't think are conventionally beautiful, but like, you know, have their own thing going on and like are super funny, and like maybe oftentimes some who are like had a little bit more of like that masculine energy. I don't even know. I'm not thinking of anyone in particular, but like I think that maybe people are kind of like, the audiences are grafting the idea of like a male comedian onto women. And so then, and women maybe are like, you know, I think there's definitely still today like people who want to strictly wear pants on stage, or strictly kind of have a more masculine energy because that's what they're more comfortable with, but also
Or
like
do you
that's
think
what
they're
they
just,
see a lot of comedians doing because they're men.
or do you feel
I
that
don't
it's
know.
harder for them if they're on stage looking hot
Looking hot,
because
like a
other women
feminine
are gonna
hot?
hate on them?
Um,
Do you know what I'm saying?
well, there's definitely been that. Like, I have heard around the Comedy Store and stuff, people say, like, don't wear a dress because of this, or, like, don't wear it because they'll think this. But it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, that's
If
like,
it's them.
that's like a thing where it's like, well, you can do that because you think someone's going to think that way, but then people might not even be thinking that way. I don't know.
They might not even think
I
that
don't
way.
know. Yeah, I don't feel like I've kind of given up on, like, trying to change what I do for anything, or, like, look at other people and think they're doing anything for any reason. I don't know. That's very vague, but I think it's fine. I think that it's hard to be a comedian no matter like what you're looking like.
True.
I think if you're hot and you like being hot on stage, like be hot, but it's also probably just you being you, not like you trying to be hot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know, like I don't know like how people would be hot, but I think
I guess what I'm
think
saying,
it's cool
even
to
guys
see,
too.
though. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like hot guys on stage
But
too.
it's generally
And
trending that way
they
more.
think that like, well, you know what I mean, I could imagine maybe in LA that happens to be the case because there's a lot of television here.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is television here, so if people are here, they're probably simultaneously pursuing acting, and like that's pretty hot, geared towards the hots, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think it's very I think it's do whatever you want to do. I'm definitely not on the side of like hating on anyone for.
Oh
trying
no,
to use
not
yeah,
that.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm just wondering.
I know, like that might be, that might have been some people at some point.
I think there's because there's so many attractive fitness people on social media that have a huge following, and that they're almost like idols
Fitness
now.
wear,
Whatever, like people have ripped with six pack,
nice.
but that's carrying over to comedians where it's like.
Well, I know like
there are a lot of like I've just noticed there's just way more good-looking comedians
now.
now.
A lot of or somebody made a funny joke. I think it was like Guy Branum on Twitter said like in the early 10s, like the Laugh Factory started booking a lot more like hot male comedians, and I think that's like maybe kind of funny and true. Like they're funny too, but I think like maybe like the Crystalia kind of masculine
Dane Cook, like tall,
that sort of type who could also do a TV
dude.
show and is kind of funny, but in that sort of like
maybe Jamie was doing that.
They do some bro-y thing. I mean, I don't even know if it was just Laugh Factory. I think it's everywhere, but it's like
no, Laugh Factory definitely has that.
Somebody tweeted about that. I thought it was funny.
Feel.
Yeah, and I mean it appeals very well to like if you're.
Especially,
well,
it's smart
because
see
some funny people.
Well, yeah. Well, if it's like
and
the girl,
like the
if it's
bachelorette
couples,
parties.
right? Bachelor parties, and there's couples like the girl, I'm a fan of him, and so the guy is gonna come and pay, but not only that, pay for the VIP so she doesn't have to wait. You could do that. And
I mean, it's a good business model. I think. I mean, what I noticed about Instagram, YouTube, things like that, like now it's really changing things because like. It is important, people will click on it if they look at your face and they're like, I like that face, right?
Yeah,
so, like, I mean, I think with Instagram, for me, what has happened is, like, I worry that people go on my Instagram, they see that I have a lot of followers, but I'm not, like, that big of a comedian, and they think that I'm just, like, putting my butt on there. But I'm not, I think I got a lot of followers from comedy clips.
Yeah.
I'm, like, I'm still a girl in those clips, but I think like, I worry a little bit about the things about that because there's certainly, I mean, obviously on Instagram, I think the people who have the most followers are women, and it's picture based.
A lot of beautiful
so
women.
I wonder why, right? But I mean, and it's not discounting that. I just think that sometimes I have the same worries of like, well, I hope people think I'm actually funny and aren't just like trying to get some of those nudes in there, but I'm not going to post any nudes. Sorry, folks. But you know what I mean? Or things like that.
Yeah. it's such a crazy place, Instagram.
Weird topic, but yeah, it's fun.
But it's real though.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
such a-
I'm all about the dogs on Instagram. If we're really gonna get into the deep stuff. I
There's
love
a lot
those
of
French
cute little
bulldogs.
doggy. There's the like Pomeranian stars.
Oh my
They're
God.
really cute. Yeah.
They look like teddy bears. It's ridiculous. But yeah, do you guys have a thinking of having? You don't have a pet.
We have a
You
little
have a pet?
backyard, so the kids are like now it's prime time, like no
now,
excuses.
In La Crescenta, you have a
In La
backyard.
Crescenta,
Oh,
so
amazing! Yeah,
they're
prime
like,
time, no
when are we
excuses.
gonna get the puppy? And they're looking, and so I'm like,
Cool.
guess
Yeah,
who's gonna
another
guess who's
added-
gonna be doing all the
Oh,
cleaning?
that was my mom.
And
when we were younger.
it's just less time. The reason why I want to make a lot of money is just I just need more time.
Yeah. I mean, it could get, you can get somebody to walk the dog, do all those menial tasks.
Yeah, it's so crazy. People really consider if you want to have kids, if you are in the entertainment industry.
Sure. It does take up time.
Yes, unless you are balling already, think about it. Really think about it. It's amazing, but yeah. It's
Do
just
you ever,
time and money.
Do you ever what do you think is? I know you spoke earlier about how kind of changed your appreciation for like your own parents and understanding things like that. Do you have anything that you specifically learned from how you were raised that you're like applying different things to your kids or same?
So
things?
we don't hit them, and my dad used to hit me. He was not abusive. He when I messed up royally, he let me know and he hit me. He hit my brothers, and that's just where he came from, old school.
Right.
We do the timeout thing. I don't know. I don't know anything about it scientifically. If it works or not, we do it. It's kind of lame, but just go there and think about what you did wrong. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly, I just want them to like be happy in terms of like, what do you really want to do? And I want to find it early if possible.
Cool. Yeah.
You know?
You would be happy if they wanted to pursue like entertainment or something like that.
Yeah. So like my oldest son likes video games. I'm like, hey, you can create these. I sent him to a coding camp at Caltech, $1,000 a week.
Holy.
But they can, they
great,
learn
though.
by the
That's
end of the
worth
week, they learn how to create very basic video games. And so
yeah. Oh wow. How
the
fun.
Roblox and things like that. So I'm like, hey, if this is the path, like, I just wanted them to find it early because I just always was like wandering around through college, not really thinking about it. And I feel like the people who can find it early and have the love and support of like, if this is what you really want to do. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, that stuff is.
But I don't know if I want them to go into stand-up comedy. I want to do that reverse psychology, like become a comedian, and then he'll rebel and become a doctor or a lawyer.
Oh yeah. Good time.
I will become a doctor.
Yeah.
Rebel.
Take this, Dad. I'm making so much money.
I'm gonna become a
I'm
surgeon.
saving people.
Exactly.
Amazing. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I mean, I think we've covered a lot, but I like to.
I'm always definitely trying to stay positive.
Yeah.
So I like the name of your.
I
Yeah,
know.
you gotta stay
I
positive.
mean, you're like the positive dude.
I
Always ending emails with positivity.
I heard this speech when I was young. John Maxwell. He's like a motivational speaker, and he just talks about how your attitude is a choice. I heard this when I was a kid, and this is why I want to. Oh, this is one thing I would do different. My parents raised me with the Bible. The Bible is the word of God, infallible, inerrant word of God. You go against it, you're going to hell. Like, like just
Destructionism.
very conservative Christianity, which is good and bad, but out of love. For me, I definitely want to talk about God with them and science.
Sure.
Science. You remember science? I know a lot of like Korean Christian parents are like, why do you believe these lies? Like science.
Oh, like all of science.
Like science
like,
and
which part of science?
and facts. But is I want to teach them at a young age because I know this successful loan officer who makes a lot of money. She said she teaches her kids like motivational speakers at a young age, and she's noticed a huge difference because her dad did that to her. Not like it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but just as they become teenagers, I want them to hear, these kind of like Gary V, Tony Robbins, John Maxwell.
Yeah.
At a young age.
Have sometimes young kids come up to them and ask them questions. I'm like, whose
So
kids
they're
are these?
thinking
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
amazing.
And I just want them at a young age to start thinking that, you know,
Ooh,
because at a
that's
young age,
awesome.
John Maxwell, he was like, you choose
Mhm.
your attitude. Your
Mhm.
attitude determines your altitude,
Mhm.
and you choose the expression you have on your face. It's like, it's not thrown upon you. We're not
Right.
Pavlovian
Not,
dogs.
blaming other things.
Yeah. It's like you choose every moment, every day, you know? And he's like, you could, at any moment, think of like some of the happiest moments in your life and change your state of mind,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
And some people dwell in that negative place,
Mhm.
and you can snap out of it. Choose like to think of the most positive, happy times in your life, and
Pull yourself out, kind of thing.
yeah, you could.
Yeah, that's huge.
I have a folder in my email
Mm,
says
mhm.
never give up. So anytime people give me encouragements or anything, I pop it in there, and then I read it whenever I feel down. Like,
That's so
instantly
smart.
I'm back
That's
up.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like the way to do it. I've I tried that one time. I haven't like filled it. Like that's the thing. It's like I had a little note tab that was called "You Are Loved" that I was like gonna try to go to anytime I fell down, and then I I made it when I was down one time, and then I guess like I forgot, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I had, and then and then it's empty.
It's empty.
So then whenever I go to, I'm like, oh crap, I keep forgetting to fill this up when I'm happy.
Dang. Tell your
I gotta
boyfriend to write
fill
you
it up.
something.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. But that is so smart. It's like fans are like friends
Just
and
anything.
things. Yeah,
I remember
that's
with
amazing.
collaboration, we started the show, and there was some kids that wrote, you know, this show meant so much to me. I'm like, I came from Oklahoma. Just to see Asian singers,
Oh my
dancers,
God,
rappers meant so much. So I put that in there, and then I had one guy tell me, you know, I was really suicidal, but the collaboration staff helped me get out of that funk. Just put that in there of like
That was you,
a
man.
ton of emails that are just like, hey, I really like this joke. Really meant a lot.
Oh,
You know, you
cool.
need those
Yeah,
because there's so much negativity.
Sure. And
I say
like,
though, yeah.
if you read that again, then you're like, oh yeah, this is like a real person who actually thought that.
And then at that moment, you're like, you are loved. You feel loved.
Yay! Amazing. All right. That's great. I want to end there, I think.
Thank
But
you.
Yes, thank you so much, PK.
Sierra, I'm a fan of you.
Oh, I'm a
Keep
fan
going
of
all the way.
listening. All right.
Yeah, for real.
Thanks.
Thank you. Stay
Yay.
positive, everybody.
Stay positive.
Stay positive.